I'm going to interrupt you. We got a pick. Shams Charania.
We got a pick.
Orlando selects Paolo Banchero out of Duke with the #1 pick. I love this pick. I absolutely love this pick. He's my favorite player in this draft. I understand the defensive concerns. You know, that's never really a big thing for me. I understand the defensive concerns, but dude's a 6'10" point forward. He's a bully. I think his jumper is workable. It's good enough. I think he adds what I believe either Jay or Mo said earlier of, like, they need a score. Like, this team can't score, and he can score. He can score on the block. He can score in the mid-range. I think the three-point shot will eventually be there. I think he's going to get to the free throw line a ton. Like, I love this pick for Orlando.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. I think this was the right decision. We don't know what Jabari Smith can do with his dribble. Just off the dribble game scares me. I'm not sure he can really dribble all that well. This is a big-time play for them. I think this is a smart move.
I don't love it. I don't love it. Just
you were a Czech guy, weren't you, Seth?
I was. Honestly, if you true serum me, who would I take #1? If I had the guts to, it would be Jaden Ivey. But
yes.
if you're limiting yourself to sort of the consensus top 3, I would have been a Chet guy just because there's just so many more ways for him to be good. And I'm worried because Banchero is almost the exact player type that we see every year in the playoffs kind of loses their way a little bit.
Yeah,
sort of that slower swing 4, can't play the 5, can't guard threes necessarily. Like these are players who have problems. So that worries me. Now he could be good enough that doesn't matter. But that's the thing that would worry me about just the player archetype that you're getting with Banchero.
And he could also become the 6'10", 265-pound house who becomes passable enough defensively that you have a huge defense, right? Like let's say he does learn to move his feet at a decent level, which he wasn't terrible in ISO situation. Like he actually has pretty quick feet some of the time when he tries.
What a set of qualifiers there. He actually has sort of quick feet some of the time when he tries.
I mean, we're not going to give him grade A for defense here.
I mean, I'm going to give you a grade A for bullshit right there. Like, that is amazing.
There's such a diversity to his offensive game that nobody else near the top of this draft could match. He can beat you in the post. He can beat you outside. He can beat you with a pass. He can beat you off the bounce. He can run pick and roll. He can be the screener in pick and roll. Like, he just does a whole lot. And when he was playing at his best, there was nothing even the best defenses could do against him. I do think offensively, like, this is the best prospect in the draft. That said, the defensive issues, like Seth said, could really matter, especially when you get a guy his size that can't play defense at a high level. That really matters far more than it does if you pick a guard who can't defend.
But like we're too worried about like if they make the playoffs. This is the number. They have the #1 pick because they're not
going to make the playoffs.
They're 24-60, right? Like they're so far away from that. And just the fact that like now they have a better option at the end of games than Cole Anthony. Right, like I think there's
Cole Anthony is a problem in the fourth quarters, especially against the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Okay, well, if they can only play Minnesota,
he lights the Wolves up in the fourth quarter, man. What a killer!
No problem. But
what
I think
an accomplishment.
But I think those are the things you're kind of watching for.
Hey, that's the 7 seed Minnesota Timberwolves. Thank you very much.
Buddy. Buddy. Anybody gonna glue themselves to the floor again, or is that too okay? Sorry. But I just think he adds an element to them that they've not had. I think it's important for them to kind of switch it up a little bit. I just really like the pick, and I think I'll worry about the playoffs when they make the playoffs. Yeah, like, let's just see. Let's get there, and I think him and Wagner are going to play well together.
Yeah, I think if you look at, like, yes, even if his defense is a problem, in theory, like if they keep him, Mo Bamba, rim protector, right, and moves okay on the perimeter. Franz Wagner, I think, is a good defender as his career progresses. Jalen Suggs can defend. Like he's a guy who's going to be able to get after it. Like it's not like it's a bunch of guys who are like, oh, Paolo, will you please save us defensively? Like I think they have enough in theory to cover that up. And like I just think all he has
their
to do
roster
is
will not look like this if they do get to the playoff. Like it will be.
It's going to look exactly like this. It's going to look exactly like this. Just
Three
no
seed in the
Markelle
East.
Fultz.
Like, what are we gonna?
So I understand what Mo is saying, and I think you're right. You don't worry about
Just stop
who he
talking.
Yeah. No, you don't worry about who he fits next
We'll
to or
cut that.
anything like that when you're where Orlando is. I do think that even when you're picking at one in the draft, you what are we trying to build here? Are we just trying
Sure.
to get the 7th seed, or are we trying to, put ourselves in title contention? And the best place to get those players is, for a team that's bad, is in the draft. So I think you do have to think about that.
But was
Now,
there anybody in this draft that you thought was going to make them a even 3 years, 4 years from now? You're going, this is going to be a
Jaden
title
Ivey,
contender,
baby.
I do love Jaden Ivey. Let's talk Jaden Ivey. I love that.
well, I think we'll get there in about 2 picks.